Good evening, good evening, good evening, everybody. It's your girl, Miss Eha, coming live all the way here. Actually, today I'm in Loxley, Alabama, but still with the same purpose, always to bring you some mental health, always to bring you some women of excellence, and always to bring you topics that are going to help somebody in some way. So I'm very happy to be joined today by Latanya Patterson, and we're going to let her introduce herself in just a minute. But let me go ahead and give you my medical disclaimer. Neither myself, Patricia Reed, aka Hija Jimenez, is here to give you any type of medical or psychological advice, nor are we here to give you any type of legal advice. If you are looking for any of those things, you're going to have to contact your nearest provider because I'm not your primary provider today. Or, of course, you can Google and find an attorney. But listen, let's get into it. Latanya, go ahead and introduce yourself, please.
Okay, so my name is Latanya Patterson. Many call me Mama P. I am the founder of Ambitiously Him and Her King Foundation. It's a young parent program that serves young parents between the ages of 13 through 23. However, I am a wife, I'm a mother of five, and also a grandmother of three.
Okay. This is actually the first time we've met. We were supposed to have you were going to be on in the past, but you sent us a representation who did very well, by the way. But I'm happy to finally meet you.
I'm glad to be here today and meet you as well. I actually was at home with the babies. It's always either you're gonna see my wife or you're gonna see myself. And a lot of people don't understand it's because we still have small ones in the home, and
Mhm.
that's a number one responsibility. And excuse me, you guys, I am fighting off COVID, so this is why my scenery is in the bed. So please forgive me.
And if you guys will take this opportunity to like, comment, follow, and share so that we can touch as many people as we can with this topic today. And so you mentioned, and let's go ahead and get into it. You mentioned your wife. And so I want to make sure that today we want to get into the topic of your baby, your son.
Yeah.
And we don't want to get lost. And we want everybody today to focus on Latanya's son. What's your wife's name?
Chandretta Patterson.
Chandretta. Our focus today is on what happened to baby boy. And I don't even want to mention his name, honestly, today. But still, we want to go ahead and get into that topic and what happened. So I'm going to let you go ahead and kind of explain what happened, and then we'll get more into the topic.
Okay. So I picked him up, him and my grandson. It's just a normal routine. I picked them up and I always, ask them, kind of how their day was and things like that. And our son stated that, I got in trouble today for talking. And usually kids don't really get in the car and tell on themselves. However, he's just him and my grandson is just those type of kids where they're always telling on themselves. It's really like, they won't hide anything. They're gonna tell you exactly what happened. So I was telling him, don't worry, it was just talking. So as I got home, I was getting my grandson ready to go with his father, which is my son. And so my son came in and he was like, well, my teacher was asking me questions today. So as I'm folding clothes, putting them in a boot bag, I'm like, okay, son, so, you know, what questions was asked? We're just having a mother-son talk. And that's when he stated that, she asked me, do I know my dad? Do I know my dad's name? Have I ever seen my dad? Which one of you guys is my real mom? Which one of you had me? And so as he started to tell me these questions that the teacher was asking, I kind of began to boil on the inside. And the reason being is, anytime that we do paperwork at the beginning of the school year, whether it's a single mother home or a two-parent home, all that information is on the paperwork. you know. Um, and I just didn't understand at that moment why he was getting questioned like that. So it kind of had made me really, really hot on the inside. She also asked him, did he have other siblings? What were they ages? Things like that. So I instantly said, I'll be right back. And I got our youngest daughter, she's in high school, to watch them. And I said, I'll be right back. And I went and I got in the car. And I got in the car because at that moment I wanted to call my spouse. Um, she didn't answer at that moment because she was doing something. So I began to call the school. And of course, it was a Friday. I knew everyone was trying to, catch that weekend and leave the school and things like that. In my head, I kind of was like, I know I'm not going to be able to contact anybody. However, I'm going to keep trying until somebody picks up the phone. And so that's basically what I did. And the secretary kind of picked up the phone. I could tell that she noticed that I was very upset because at that time I was crying. And I was upset, and I said that I wanted to speak with the principal. She said the principal wasn't in, and she said, does this have anything to do with your child? I said yes. And she said that she was going to get the principal to give me a call back, Monday. And so that's basically how it went up until the time that me and my spouse actually talked with the teacher over the phone.
Okay, and so was that on Monday?
No, that was on Friday.
The same Friday?
Yes, the same Friday. My wife actually texts the teacher because sometimes you just have that teacher parent relationship where the teacher's cell phone number. So by this time I had talked with my spouse and I told her, I'm very upset these questions was asked to our son. And so she instantly text the teacher and told the teacher that we were very upset about the questions that were being asked because we felt like those are questions that you should ask an adult and not a child. And so we briefly talked over the phone. I think it was like a 15-minute conversation between all three of us because during the conversation I got upset and I hung up the phone. And the reason why was because the teacher began to say that they were discussing families. And so, in my head, I'm like, oh, okay, well, it was a group discussion. They were discussing families, King just had an assignment like that, and I sent in some information about families, saying that we celebrate Kwanzaa instead of Christmas. So, in my head, I'm like, oh, okay, it was a family discussion. However, I got upset because the teacher kept saying, I know he has two moms. I know he has two moms. I know he has two moms.
She
So
was saying
if you
that when, like in your conversation over the telephone?
in our conversation over the telephone. So if you know he has two moms that's listed on the paperwork and not a father, why would you question him about a father? And so that made me very upset. I didn't want to be disrespectful because she is older than us. And so I just immediately, like, I just hung up the phone because that was my first reaction, was to just hang up the phone, because at that moment I was very upset as a parent. And I know a lot of us as parents, we're always stating, oh, we'll start a war over our kids, or we'll take a bullet over our kids, and at that moment, that's how I was feeling. I was very upset.
And so when you say older, about how much older is this teacher?
Okay, so I'll say
Approximately.
a decade or so. Not, I mean, she's older, but just maybe a decade and a couple of years. Cause I'm in my 40s. So
So did she express any, like, what? So what was, other than saying, I know that he has two moms?
she was very apologetic.
Okay.
However, at that moment I felt like an apology wasn't going to fix the issue, because at this moment I had to explain to her that Malachi is adopted. He doesn't know which one of us had him. He doesn't he at that he did know his dad name, so he was able to say his father's name. However, he doesn't remember meeting him because he told his teacher he never saw him before, which he did see him at a very younger age. I think maybe 3 or 4 years old at a football game. We did invite his father to one of his games because um at a very early age, we did want our son to know that he had a father. I mean, if I'm co-parenting with the other kids and he see them leaving on weekends, going with their father, I'm sure he would, want to know, okay, well, do I have a father? Where's my father? Things like that. So it's not any of the things that a lot of people assume about two mother households, homosexual households, where they feel like maybe we're putting things in the child head to think that, it doesn't take a mom and a dad to raise a child or make a child. However, that wasn't the case in our situation. He always knew that he had a father.
Okay. So now explain to me, because obviously, number one, I'm heterosexual
Mm-hmm.
and I don't have any children that are adopted, nor have I ever tried to adopt anyone. So explain to me. So he knows he has a father,
Mm-hmm.
but at what age would it be expected for him to know? Because in my mind, and I'm always, gonna try to look at both sides of the
Mm-hmm.
story. And
Mm-hmm.
you have people who are older
Mm-hmm.
who it takes them, a little while longer to understand, if I'm being honest. So I was asking
Mm-hmm.
how much. Okay, so how you've already explained to him that he has a father, so he knows that. But at the same time, kids also know that they have. I don't even know how to. I mean, it's not
Okay.
that I'm
So
here to say it. I'm just trying to figure out what I'm
okay.
trying to say.
So I get to where you're saying. So since you don't know about adoption, it's always an open adoption or a closed adoption. Correct. So
Mhm.
we did this legally. So since we did this legally, me and my wife is listed on his birth certificate. So at the moment of the birth certificate re-signing, my sister was there. This have been a public announcement since day one.
And your
Anyone that
sister
has been,
is his biological mom.
yes,
Okay.
yes, she blessed us with him,
Mhm.
okay, as a blessing, because two women just can't have a child. So
Is that something
um
that was planned? Am I
it was a
guess?
blessing to us. It was a
Okay.
blessing to us. However, the thing is, once, this is what the lawyer told us. The lawyer said, from this day forward, she is auntie. She is not mother. You guys are the mother, because that's the way that is listed on the birth certificate. And that goes for any adoption. Excuse me, you guys. It doesn't matter if you're homosexual or heterosexual. You see what I'm saying? It's plenty of mud deals and grandmamas that didn't even go through the legal process that is known as ma. You're calling her mother when she's actually your grandmother. You see what I'm
And I
saying?
guess that's part, and I get that part, but I guess as living here and being
Mm-hmm.
a part of a small community, and you saying that was a part, that was public information. Everybody knew that you were adopting this child. So
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we live in communities and such where people talk in front of their children,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and I
Mm-hmm.
know plenty of people who found out that their daddy wasn't their daddy
Mm-hmm.
on a bus because
Mm-hmm.
little Johnny's mama was talking in front of them.
Mm-hmm.
So to protect those children when it's because it's not like you moved, you got the child, you adopt the child, and then y'all move
Mm-hmm.
somewhere where
Mm-hmm.
nobody knew, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how then do you make, and it's even hard because people can go for decades and decades and actually go for eternity and never tell anyone that they've been adopted,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But at some point, science being science, we're going to know, this child is going to know that, okay, well, both of you can't be my biological mothers.
Okay.
And so you said that you guys have put a plan in place, right?
Okay, it's called it's actually called like a reveal adoption action plan.
Mm-hmm.
And anybody that adopts, they're gonna think about, at what age do we start telling this child that they're adopted, or what age do we start to communicate with them. For anybody that's on here that know of our son has cerebral palsy as well as a seizure disorder. So for 6 years of his life, we wasn't concentrating on, okay, so when are we going to tell him that he's adopted? We were actually concentrating on taking care of a sick child. Okay. um it was things that was going on with him. The doctors said that he would never walk, talk, or any of that, you know. um so when it came to like certain learning disabilities and things like that, we were pacing when we were going to tell him, because a lot of people will say that, oh well, I think 8 years old he should know. But like you said, at what age do some of us even find out that our dad is really not our
I
dad?
mean,
You know what I'm saying?
sometimes it never happens.
Okay, so we were really concentrating on taking care of a child that had cerebral palsy and seizure disorder. We really wasn't thinking out, okay, let's hurry up and tell them. Even though we had a um reveal action plan, we wanted it to be surrounded by his loved ones, his siblings, his mothers, his godparents, his grandparents, my sister, her children. We had an action plan, as well as we knew that we were going to have therapy in place. We were going to have a lot of things. And I feel like all that was just stripped away from us. A sacred time that was supposed to be between family was stripped away from us. And it's just like finding out on the streets your dad is not your dad. You rather hear your mother tell you your dad is not your dad, versus,
Any age is not a comfortable
yeah.
topic. Now you do have some families who, like from the very beginning, is an open adoption. Like that child is born knowing that
Mm-hmm,
you have we're your adopted parents. This is your other mommy,
mm-hmm.
um, and so and I've thought about this and I've thought about this a lot. First of all, let me say I don't think that teacher had any right at all to ask the questions that were asked and to reveal. I was talking to a good friend of mine about it, knowing that he had two moms and you were gonna have. She knew she was gonna have this conversation in class, and I don't know, is it a part of the curriculum? I don't know.
It wasn't part of the curriculum. He actually was called out in front of the entire class and asked all these questions, while the remaining of the class sat still and just listened.
And
No,
nobody else in the class had to do the same as far as telling
no,
family work.
no, he was called out.
Okay. All right. So, but my question was, at any point did you ever worry? Because some kids are kids in general now are a whole lot smarter than what we are.
Mm-hmm.
Have
Mm-hmm.
access to a whole lot more technology. Their social media, and
Mm-hmm.
they know a lot more. So, at any point, did you ever worry that someone else would tell them before you got to?
Okay, so like I mentioned before, we have raised 5 kids. So um me and my wife been together 16 years. So our other kids are grown now and have children. However, they were small. We had them in Christian school. We never really had, like, we always prepared them for what children may say, but not really an adult. We never really wrapped our head around it. And it may be some type of we never really went through that. I felt like, oh, okay, well, if we didn't get judged in a Christian school, I really don't have, anything to worry about when it comes to public school, because I mean, it is 2024. We are seeing it more now, and like I asked Malachi, I said, well, did any of your homeboys or your peers in your classroom knew that you had two moms? He said no. when we're going in and out of a school, they don't know if we're an auntie. They don't know if we're a grandmother. They don't know if we're the daycare teacher picking up our child. The only way that you're really going to know anything if it's broadcasted. If like the child is running up saying, "Hey, mommy," or like my grandson, every time he see me, it's, "Hey, mommy. Hey, granny," every time he see me. But when you're going in and out of a school, they just know, oh, okay, Malachi is getting picked up. They don't know who's actually doing the picking up unless a peer actually asks a child. And so we never really had that issue. My mom have mentioned it all the time. Oh, somebody's gonna tell him before you. But I think he was surrounded by so much love and so much, like, no one has ever mentioned anything. No one. Like, no one, has ever pointed that out. Like, oh, okay, you have two moms. Like, it's not a thing like how everybody is picturing it in their head.
Is it? But sorry, and I hope, and I don't, I'm just gonna be honest. But do you
Mm,
really feel like it's not a thing? Because I don't understand how. Okay, so if I have a child and that
mhm,
child is adopted or not adopted, like you said,
mhm,
grandmas raise their grandchildren all the time.
mhm.
And I'm just hoping that the child doesn't find out, or and I've had this happen. I've had this happen in my family where somebody has found out, through the streets that
Mhm.
their dad wasn't their dad and this is really your dad. So I've had that happen, and like I said, I've saw people who weren't in my family that has happened to. And if that's happening with a male and a female, and you have an 8-year-old, at what point do you, because to me it's not even so much about, and I know it is for you about the being adopted, but for me, at what point would you expect this child to not realize, okay, something, is different? Everybody else has a mom and a dad, and this is how, it's not too many years from now when he's going to be in fifth grade and they have these topics in sex education.
They don't have sex education in the school. However,
Oh,
Queen,
okay.
even at 8 years old, me telling him, and I'm gonna do it just like how I did it to him. I said, "Do you know it takes a mother and a father to come together collectively to make a blessing? Because you are a blessing." This is how I'm talking to Malachi. Because you
Mhm.
are a blessing. Do you know that? No. He's 8. Because now you're forcing me to tell him about the birds and the bees. You see
Yeah,
what I'm
and I'm
saying?
not saying that I expected you to tell him now. My
Okay.
question is, what is an appropriate? Yeah, my question
Okay.
is, what?
So my thing is we never know when it's an appropriate time. You as a mother or anybody as a mother, you really don't know when it's an appropriate time. All children are different. I've raised 5 kids and all of them aren't on the same level. Some of them have different characteristics. Some of them are, they can grasp something earlier than their brother or their sister. All of them are different. I can explain something to one child over and over and over again, they won't get it, but I can explain it to their sibling one time and they get it. So at what age was we gonna, are you asking me what age were we gonna tell them? Because
I guess
we were.
I want to know what. No, because I don't want
Okay.
you to divulge that, but like, because I haven't always just worried about protect. Like, I even as a parent, in a heterosexual relationship, I've always worried about protecting my children from the
Mm-hmm.
public too.
Mm-hmm.
And as a child who was bullied, I always wanted to protect them from other children, because
Mm-hmm.
children can be so mean and children
Mm-hmm.
can be so cruel. And
Mm-hmm.
while it is 2024 and things are a lot different, and we expect people to be more open minded, but we still live in Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not as open-minded as some people would pretend that it is. A lot
Mm-hmm.
of people might pretend that they're okay with it, but they're still not. And so I guess I want to know, when do you start thinking about protecting him, even if he doesn't know, worrying about somebody else teaching him instead of you teaching him?
Well, that was one of the reasons why we actually put our children in Christian school. Um, because we wanted them to always know, to pray, to be able to call on God. And like I mentioned to you before, we didn't have problems in a Christian school. Like my daughter told the principal, she just turned 16. She told the principal, she said, when my moms would be in the office, they would never say their name. They just would say, your mom is in the office. They wouldn't say which one it was. She said it could be my mom or it could be my son, because that's what all the rest of our kids call her, my son. So we just really never had this issue, Queen. So I can't answer anything that, I mean, we never really had that issue. Even before Kai was born, we never had that issue. We raised other kids. Yes, it was other kids that would say stuff to them. However, we never really had like just a big issue, especially an issue like this when it comes to an adult. Because I just feel like when you sneaking and when you're being nosy and you're asking, you're kind of gonna act like you're gonna pull the child to the side and say, hey, do you know what which one had you? Do you know who your dad is? Things like that. But I
Which
feel
I
like,
feel like it's totally inappropriate for her to have.
yeah,
I, yeah, I feel like that was totally
I
inappropriate.
also feel like it was just something against us, to call a child out when his peers don't even know it. So you basically just told the whole classroom he got two moms. He don't know who his dad is. His dad don't come around. He don't see his dad. Like it was too much.
And so now, I saw where you posted the other day he was doing an assignment,
Mm-hmm.
and tell me about the assignment that he did when he talked about being dadless.
Um, okay, so he basically, the assignment was dealing with suffixes, and so anyone knows that what they are. You basically put an end into a word, and so we were helping him with his homework, and he basically said, I'm finna go back here and I'm finna write some words. It may not mean, it may not have a meaning to you. I'm just gonna go make up some words. And so the words were momful, which we know, that's not a word, but it was momless and dadless. And that kind of made us feel a certain way. It made us feel a certain way. And I'm gonna be honest, my spouse erased it, because I guess that was her first reaction. Like, she's upset. She hurried up and erased it. And so we was gonna get him to complete it in the morning time, where he wrote it again. And I, before we went to school, I basically said that I know you said that those words may not mean anything, or they may not have a meaning. I said, but they do. I said, and if that's the way that you feel, it's okay. I said, because I'm still your mother and I love you and we're gonna get through this. And I gave him a hug.
It sounds like he's pretty intelligent. Um,
To be told that he would never walk, talk, and all that, yes. The doctors would always, commend us and say, I'm proud of you guys. You don't treat them different from the other siblings. Because we used to, I mean, we treated him like everyone else. Even when he was playing football and had, the braces on his legs, we treated him just like the rest of our kids. We didn't handicap him. We are parents that help him with his homework. We are parents that pray with our son. We are parents that, I mean, we're a loving family. Anybody that knows us would tell you the same thing. So I just really don't know what else to say.
so when you called the teacher, because you said that you felt like she was being malicious
Mhm.
when she did it. So when you spoke with her, what do you think her response should have been to you that day when you spoke with her on the phone?
Her response was everything that it should have been. I mean, because the only thing she could have said was she was sorry. One thing that I do disagree with, when she was like, you don't have to tell him anything, because I was like, now we're forced to tell him the truth. Because he came home with questions of, I don't know which one of you guys had me. At that moment when she said, no, you don't have to tell him the truth, yes, we do. Because you have basically planted in his head these questions. And I felt like that was her plan all along. You know, I'm always posting motivational things about be mindful of the plants, you know, the seeds that you plant in our youth. And so I feel like when she was asking him questions like that, she was planting in his mind to come home and have that in his spirit, to think that, you know, whether he did not say nothing or he said it with his actions. You know, I feel like that's exactly what she was trying to do. And it just, it was wrong. It wasn't her place to do.
And so now you said you had an action plan. So have you mobilized that action plan now? You guys have sought out
Yes,
counsel?
we have no choice. Now it's more of a crisis plan, because
Mhm.
our family is in a crisis. Because now, who do you think our son trusts? He don't trust the teacher. He don't trust us. He don't trust nobody around him. He probably feel like his whole life is fake. And you know, when people, that's why I really don't feel a certain way when people start questioning me, because I'm like, if you can lie to your child till they 12 years old about Santa Claus, and you got the nerves to be questioning me, let's not go there, because everybody have their own moral beliefs, their own political beliefs, their own ethical beliefs. Everybody run their own household how they want to run it. I know that our kids have never been in danger. They're always been loving kids. They have grown up to be amazing individuals. So we can't just stop at Malachi. We also got to think about the rest of the kids that we have also raised, and not just within our household. Me and my spouse are community activists.
And that's what I
We
wanted to get into
we
next.
we have been in the community for so long, where it's so many kids beside our children that call us my son, mama p, mama, you know. And so it's just, it breaks my heart when someone tries to manipulate the whole image of what our family is. Like, I don't, that's why I say, I mean, if you want to know something, go to the, you know, go to the horse, you know, access. I've always been an open book. I've never been ashamed of anything. I basically post everything on my page. That's why I told you from the beginning, everyone knew this was public. So what makes anybody think that we would ever hide it from him if I made it public that he was adopted?
And so like going forward, what is that you have been an advocate for the youth. And so going forward, what would you like to see happen, or how do you plan to advocate for other children who are in, and other parents who are in the same situation?
It's just the only thing I could really say for parents is, you know, don't be afraid to have a voice for your child. A lot of people was against me posting this, but I had so many parents to inbox me and say we don't have a voice when it comes to Mobile County public school system. They don't care. They're not gonna do anything. I wish I had the courage you had. I wish I, you know, I would have handled it in a better way like you. Like, I had so many parents to come to me and say things, which at that moment, the only thing that I knew to do was to go public with it. Because I mean, we're always going public about mess. We're always going public about drama, but we never go public about the real things that are happening around us. And at that moment, I was weak. I didn't know what else to do but to go public, because I didn't know the codes of ethics. I didn't know what was in, you know, a teacher's handbook. I learned a lot making
So
that
what
post.
would you like to see them do? What would you like now to happen as far as the Mobile County Public School System?
They need more sensitive training on things like this. Um, you would think that you wouldn't have to teach a teacher how to handle situations like this, but maybe they need to sit down and like.
Because I'm not a teacher, I'm a nurse practitioner, right?
Mm-hmm,
But
mm-hmm,
we are taught. We are
mm-hmm.
taught. Why would you think that we don't have to be taught something that we don't know about? I mean, for you, it seems like you feel like I should just naturally know the way these things, and I don't. I have
Mm-hmm.
a lot of friends who I sit down with because I love them, and a lot of family members that I sit down because I love them, and patients, who have
Mm-hmm.
educated me. But everybody doesn't have that. So if it's not something that is, and I'm sorry, but maybe we are trying to make it the norm, but it's not the norm.
No, I never said that it was the norms, Queen. But would you ask a child that being a nurse
Oh,
practitioner?
absolutely not. I've already
Okay.
told you that I totally feel like even if the child had came, and started being more inquisitive and asking that teacher questions, as a nurse practitioner, now I'm calling mom and say, hey, Miss Patterson, I want you to know that Malachi has been asking more questions. And so you guys, maybe it's time for you to sit down and have that conversation.
But Malachi didn't ask questions in this
That's not
situation.
what I'm saying. I'm
Yeah.
saying that if that had have been the case, like if she would have used that as Amos keeps saying, well, he started asking questions. Well,
Mm-hmm.
even then, I would expect an adult not to sit there and feel like you have the right to, because now you're parenting my child.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it's like I posted on Facebook, I was livid when somebody told my child at 6 years old that Santa Claus wasn't real.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm that upset about somebody telling my child about something that's actually fictional.
Mm-hmm.
I can't even imagine what I was pissed
Mm-hmm.
when I saw. But it had nothing to do, honest, if I'm being honest, it had nothing to do with the fact that you were a same-sex couple.
Yeah, but okay,
Probably not.
so I would like to go back and kind of revert to when you saying that we're trying to make everything normal. Okay, so everyone household is different. My normal is not like my mom normal or your normal. So everyone household is different. However, it's just common sense to not ask questions like that. Even if it's a mandated reporter situation, you still wouldn't ask questions like that. So, like I said, if they need more sensitive training and need to be sit down like children and watch a video, maybe that's what they need to do. But it's in their handbook that they should not do certain things. It goes against the code of ethics. So,
Now when it comes to that, because I'm gonna say it again,
mm-hmm,
and I'm not even speaking as far as her. I'm just speaking as far as me, whether I was a provider
mm-hmm,
or not. Yes, I've had to sit down in classroom settings
mm-hmm,
like a child, but I didn't feel like I was sitting down there as a child because no, I'm
mm-hmm,
sitting there because I needed to be educated,
mm-hmm,
and I would still go and sit there and be educated.
mm-hmm,
So to expect that somebody would just automatically know how to be that sensitive, I'm
mm-hmm,
gonna argue that most people don't, and it's not natural
mm-hmm,
yet for most people to
mm-hmm,
just know how to handle these situations,
mm-hmm,
especially people who are older.
mm-hmm.
And I said we weren't going to get into like we wanted to keep it focused on the child, but I don't think it's really possible with this particular topic. Um, when it comes to older people, some of them we're never gonna get to. We still ain't get some of them to accept the fact that we black.
Mm-hmm.
And so now we're expecting though. And did you tell us whether or not this teacher was Caucasian or black or
Same color we are. A
okay,
reflection
okay.
of us. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and so like now we're thinking about the fact that this is somebody that's older,
Mm-hmm.
and we know the role that religion has played in the Black community. And I didn't say spirituality, and I didn't say Christ. I said religion, and
Mm-hmm.
we know that religion, has played in our community. And so now you have those people who are older. And there are some of them, I don't care how much you sit down and give them this sensitivity training, when it comes to that, yeah, maybe they should not work in the school system. If
Mm-hmm.
you're not able to come in here and talk to these children like they need to be and
I
handle
agree.
the situations, yeah, that you
Mm-hmm.
need to handle them. And one of the things you saw as a teacher or even as a nurse practitioner or any provider is first you got to know what you feel like personally.
Mm-hmm.
Because I can't address, something if I don't even really know how I feel. So it needs to be some honesty. It needs
Mm-hmm.
to be somebody else besides me to sit here and say, you know what, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but I'm willing to be educated. I'm
Mm-hmm.
willing to be trained. And if I make a mistake, I'm willing to say I'm sorry. Now that I say I'm sorry, what are we going to do now? I'm sure I've said some things to some people before that were not malicious, but came out in a malicious manner. And I've had to go back and apologize. But
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, and I ain't speaking about the teacher, I'm just speaking about me. Sometimes it was because I simply didn't know. So
Mm-hmm.
with that part, I have not that particular teacher. This is me advocating for teachers as a whole. I'm not going to say that because we put them in a classroom setting because they don't know, and they get trainings. That's what trainings are for. That's what continuing education is for. And we do it more for the homosexual community, for the LGBT community than we do it for anything else. So we are trying to be sensitive, but let us learn and don't, say things like, well, if y'all don't gotta, if I got to sit here and sit you down and treat you like a child in a classroom
Mm-hmm.
for you to know. Now that part I took a little offense to, if I'm being honest.
Hey, it's a sensitive. I mean, this is me even talking with older people, and I mean older people, older than her, saying that's just common sense. Like everybody was like, why would you do that? Like everybody wants to know that question. Why? If you wanted to know, she has our number. She has
Mhm.
our personal number. We personally talked to her. She could have asked that. She could
And
have
I think
asked that.
I think she knew better. I think we all know that she
Mm-hmm.
knew better.
A 8-year old probably. I mean, most 8-year olds probably couldn't even answer all. He actually answered all the questions um correctly, even when it comes to the ages of his siblings and things like that. And we was like, wow, all of them age, and you know yeah, so he's a very intelligent child, but we can't get over the fact of that she had motives of why she was doing what she was doing, just point blank period, because you could have called him to the side to ask him those questions,
Or
not
like
in front of them.
she could have talked to you guys. And I'm
Well,
saying
it's in
like,
paperwork, like the principal said, everyone in the school already know both of you guys.
or his mom's.
Yes.
Okay.
It's
And
never
so
been it's never been anything trying to, I mean, it's on paperwork.
And did you, and one more time, so, and you asked her what was her reasoning for these questions? If everybody, because if I thought that it was like all the kids were coming up there and talking, because
She
I've been
tried to make it seem like it was a family discussion, but it wasn't.
okay, because he was the only child that came up there and
He
talked.
was he didn't, he was sitting in his seat, and he was the only child that spoke, because those questions was directed to him, not anyone else in the classroom.
And we know we've seen people do things like that, like, oh, they ain't gonna tell them, I'm gonna tell them. We have seen people do things like that. Um, and it's never our place. It's never our place. That part I want to be clear. The teacher that sat there and told this, like, took it upon yourself to tell this child, try to explain to him something that I don't feel like you should have been trying to explain. But at the same time, now what? Now what from her? Because he's still in the teacher's class.
It's been a big investigation going on. The school board actually has been doing what they were supposed to be doing. This all took place on a Friday. So last week, no, she wasn't in class.
Okay.
So we're making sure that the proper things are getting done, the proper procedures are getting done, because it is a process. Um, it has to be an investigation with the principal and the school and the students, and then the head people in the school and the students. So it's really a process. However, I'm gonna keep talking about it, because it wasn't it wasn't supposed to happen. I don't care who child it was, who the parents were, or anything. It wasn't supposed to happen. And a child has rights as well as us as parents. We have rights.
So your purpose right now, you want this, you want to be able to get the story out so people
No, my
know.
purpose is to actually educate individuals on adoption. A lot of people, like you said, don't know. So my point is just to put it out there. If you don't know, I'm willing to answer any questions that you may have. Um, and that's just the only way. A lot of us always feel like destruction is the way to get something done, and that's not my thing. I'm trying to be as positive as possible as I can about this situation, and just educate individuals on who just don't know, who maybe be feeling the same way that the teacher feeling.
Mhm.
So hey, we're here to answer any questions that you may have.
And I appreciate you. I appreciate you for that, because and that is advocating for the children that come behind Malachi, and the parents that come behind Malachi, the teachers that come behind that teacher, so the same thing doesn't continue to happen. Now, you said to me the other day that you didn't feel like you said everything that I've done for the community, you felt like the community doesn't have your back.
Mhm. Yeah,
So
it's just sometimes you just feel that way. A lot of people aren't going to speak up because the subject is sensitive. They may be going through the same thing and don't want anybody to know. And so I kind of had to kind of go in my meditation mode and say, hold on, calm down. Right now you're just being so angry, and at that moment when I was speaking with you, I was angry. Um because at that moment I didn't feel like I had any allies. I didn't feel like I had the community behind us. I didn't feel like the people that should be speaking up for Malachi was speaking up for Malachi. I didn't feel like the people that was supposed to be speaking up for the Pattersons were speaking up for the Pattersons. That's just the way I felt at that moment. However, it's not their job. This is not their storm. This is not their testimony. And God had to really sit me down and say, it's not about them. It's about your family and about your son. So I don't feel that way anymore. I
I'm
understand
glad.
if they can't say nothing, if they, hey, it's a sensitive topic.
I'm glad you don't feel that way anymore, because I did go back and I looked at you sent me the link again and told me to go back and look at some of the comments. And for the most part though, Latanya, I saw a lot of people who were, speaking up and very
Mm-hmm,
upset
mm-hmm,
for for Malachi. Now I did see one person who was kind of going chiming back, but I mean it was more so trolling. Like, you're gonna always have somebody. And I don't know if you knew this person personally, but like to me, she came off more as a troll. But I saw more people in support than I saw not. So it looks like you do have a community that's
mm-hmm,
sometimes you don't, like I always say, you don't know what people are doing that you can't see they're doing. Sometimes all somebody can do that they know how to do is keep you in their thoughts and
mm-hmm,
prayers.
mm-hmm.
Um, Go
Mm,
ahead.
and when we're just going through stuff, sometimes like at that moment, I think I probably was like just concentrating on the, because I think it was like 3 or 4 individuals that was saying negative things, and sometimes you just concentrate on that at that moment. And I am a woman where I can step back and kind of check myself. I'm not always one of those individuals that want to check other people's demons and don't check my own. So I had to just gracefully sit myself down and say, hey, like, you are love, your child is love, you know what I'm saying, your family is love. Because at that moment I just really felt attacked. And anybody that's going through anything, any storm, it just feel dark. It doesn't matter who's the light. It feels dark at that moment. And at that moment I just I felt like I was in a very, very dark place, and I was coming down with COVID and didn't know. So
Well, I'm happy to hear. Look, I can leave that whole little counseling, encouragement session off. But yeah, that's exactly right. Because I did want to give you some encouragement as far as that's concerned. I do believe that you have a community of people that are standing with you and Malachi. Um, and I believe that some of the people, if I'm being honest, some of those people are not even advocates for having two moms
Yeah.
or two dads. But when it comes to a child, nobody can sit here and pretend that that was not inappropriate for that to happen that way. So for everybody who did send you out some encouragement, I just want to make sure that we let them know that you got it, you caught it, and you appreciate it. Because sometimes we do. You like you said, we so hurt and we so angry. All we see is the negative because we're trying to defend. Like you went into defense mode and you were trying to
Yes.
defend yourself and defend Malachi. Um, but honey, know that the people that were commenting, the stuff that they were saying, like it was nothing compared to the support that you were giving it. It
Yes.
wasn't even very intelligently written. So
Yes.
I think you do have a community of people that are standing with your baby. And I hope that what you want to come of this comes. It does not seem to me that you are coming in any type of malicious way. It sounds like you want to advocate for your son. He is your son. He is your wife's son. And we need to respect that. We need to respect. We sit there and we post it on Facebook all the time that people just need to mind their business. And in that instance, that was a case of just needing to mind your business. That was a case of, like I said, knowing when to include parents. And that part, yeah, it should not take any extra education for you to know when to include parents on conversations, and let parents know, hey, so and so asked me this. And I know he didn't ask, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
some child may come to somebody one day and ask them a question. I remember as a child going to people's houses and seeing things that were different, and I may ask them, how come y'all do this way? And those people would send me back to my mom, and they would talking to my mom, hey, Trish is starting to ask questions about this. You might want to have a conversation with her. But I thank you for coming on today. I'm happy to be able to provide you this space and opportunity to be able to talk about. Is there anything else that you would like to address today?
No, that's it. It's just a different hurt. Like I tell people all the time, you could talk about me all day, but when
Hmm.
you mess with my babies, like it's mama bear. Like I'm a whole different individual, and that's this case. So
And like you keep posting, you say Malachi's hurting, his mom's hurting, and his family is hurting because when you go through things like that, you do hurt as a family. I was hoping you said maybe you were going to get some of your older children to join us today
yeah, I'm not even sure if they're on, because I
because I
can't
can
see the
send a link if they
comments.
want.
Hold on, let me see, because I can't see their comments. Is it any way that I can see comments?
You should be able to see.
They're probably watching.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Portia Tori Pearson is the only comment that I see on here.
Okay, okay. Okay, so maybe their comments will actually come up later on. However, it's been a ride for the entire family, because now the entire family is like on pins and needles, because we don't know what he might say, we don't know what he might do. One of his older siblings was like, don't say nothing to him because he just looks so sad, like she's crying with him every minute. It didn't just affect our child, it affected our whole family, because this is not how we wanted it to go. This isn't the timeline or the way that we expected things to go. Like a lot of people, they don't even know what an action plan is, or even have one, or even think about you know putting things in action. And so for people to say anything to us, it's kind of crazy, um because
So
people.
then
Mhm.
your advice to because how would you help somebody else if that would be the one thing that you could say to somebody to try to help to try to prevent this from happening to somebody else in the future? Like, would that be your answer? Would be educate
Well,
teachers?
educate teachers, but it's it could only go so far, because like I said, they send home a little paper that say, talk about family, tell about family. Like it comes home every year at the beginning of the year with the child. Well, we always put King has two grandmothers. He's in a two grandmother household. We're just telling you this just in case certain topics may come up. Like we are open parents. Like this is things that we write on paper and turn in just in case, so they won't get any surprises, because we do know that with certain, curriculum, certain topics, things may be brought up. So we want you to know that this child is raised in a different household. So it's nothing that has, a teacher doesn't know about it. It's like the principal said, everyone knows you guys. You know what I'm saying? Your guys are dedicated into the school. You come to meetings, you come to meet and greet, things like that. However, I do want to tell any parent that adopts a child to, just have your action plan and just maybe start early, because maybe we should have started early. But like I said, Malachi was dealing with cerebral palsy and seizure disorder, so we was just concentrating on getting our son better, to the point where they don't even call him disabled anymore. That's what our goal was, because he was disabled all the way up until he was 5 or 6 years old. So that's what our main goal was. Not to, okay, let's tell him who his dad is, let's tell him who his mom is, even though we knew that he needed to know that it takes a mom and a dad. So that's
Did
why
you feel
he
any type of guilt for not having told him any earlier, honestly?
No, because he still doesn't understand. At eight
Okay.
years old, we still gonna have to explain this to him when he turned 10. We still gonna have to explain this to him when he turned 13. We still gonna have to explain this to him when he turned 18. So no, it's no guilt, because at the end of the day, we're still both his mothers.
Mhm.
It's not gonna change. We legally adopted him.
Okay. And like you said, everybody does things when I guess when you develop these action plans, everybody does things and chooses to do things differently. And I guess based on the child and how mature that they are. I will speak though, again, as a provider who
Hmm.
has cared for children and adults. And I'm not speaking to you, I'm speaking now in general
Hmm.
to the community. I will also speak to you, having a plethora of family members who maybe just didn't know who their dad was. My brother being one of them until I didn't meet my brother until he was in his 40s. Um, and I was in my late 30s when we even met, and he found out that my dad was his dad. And so, for lots of different reasons, people don't know who their parents are. But I have treated a lot of people who have carried around some anger or have felt like they were deceived because they weren't told from the beginning. Um, Again, everybody's situation is different. I'm just saying, know that it does to that person, even though you have this idea in your head of what protecting them looks like. Um, I've not heard one person yet say that there a lot many of them were appreciative for having been adopted and brought into better situations. Um, my brother and my dad ended up having a great relationship. There was no animosity or whatever between the two of them. Um, my both were very happy that my dad's last days they got to spend some quality time together. Would my brother have liked to know growing up, even if he wasn't going to have a relationship with him? Did he want to know in the beginning? He did. He did want to know. And so, yeah, so when you're sitting down with, when you choose to adopt for whatever reason, and I don't believe your situation was done selfishly at all. And I don't think anybody does it selfishly. I don't think I couldn't think of anybody that adopted somebody and didn't tell their child from because they were
That
being selfish.
that wasn't, Queen, is still, that wasn't what we were doing,
Yeah, I
and
don't believe
what
that
we
at all.
wasn't gonna do. And to everyone that's watching, I'm adopted. Okay. I I was adopted by my stepdad. I wasn't his age, but I did have feelings of what came with adoption, you know. And also people also have certain emotions of finding out who their mother and father is, and certain things still happen, you know. um we we as individuals all go through a lot of trauma, you know, whether we know our dad, don't know our dad, meet our dad at, you know, certain age, and at one point you wish you would have never met your dad. Like, it's a
And
lot
not
of us
just
go.
dads, moms too, because a lot of people don't know their
Yeah,
real
yeah,
moms, their
yeah,
biological mothers, so not,
yeah,
both ways.
yeah. And at the end of the day, my sister was in his life. He knew my sister as his aunt, like the lawyer said, you know. So we were all still a loving family. Like, we it's not what everybody is trying to make it seem like up in their head. I think a lot of us
But
kind of
now
watch.
you keep saying that. What is it that, and we probably need to be wrapping this up, but so
Mhm.
what do you feel like people, what is the narrative, the story that people are making up here?
Because I know, like, you would revert back to saying, like, I know, you know, you guys wasn't doing like a selfish act by adopting and not telling, which that was never the case. We were gonna say it, you know, we were gonna tell him. Now, at what age is everybody questioning? Because, like, a lot of people saying, you know, he still doesn't understand, he still doesn't know. That's just like, he met his dad before, but he told the teacher he never saw his dad. So that's, we have to think about it from not our perspective as adults, but from a child perspective. Everybody keeps looking at it like what they would do.
Who is everybody and what that you, because I want to make sure that people are actually saying this to you, or is it something that you're feeling like people are saying? Like
I'm
who,
reverting back to what you said.
what did I say to make you feel like I don't, I have this idea in my, because I don't have any ideas in my head as to what you've told me, what your
Okay.
story, what the story is. And
Mhm.
even before you told me, I followed on social media, but even before speaking to you, I still hadn't developed any story in my head as far as, I've never thought anything malicious from you or the way you raised your child and you guys being two moms. And even if I had, I don't want you to make a whole community, make it seem like a whole community would feel the way I do. But if you are basing it on that, then that's not right, because
Okay.
I do not feel that way. And trust me, I would tell you if I
Okay.
did. My goal is always going to be to ask questions that I feel, but at the same time, I've gone out and I've spoken, as part of my interview process, I'm speaking to other people because I want to know what their thoughts on it,
Mhm.
or I'm pulling from different families that I've dealt with when it comes to the adoption process, meeting them as a provider. But I don't want us to leave here with you thinking that I have,
I'm fine, Queen. Like, I'm really, it's okay.
but
Like,
even not just with me though. I mean, as the community too. I don't want you to, because I've asked a lot of people,
mhm.
and I've not heard one person say anything. And these are people who know you or don't know you, my family members from out of town, who I call like, hey, I'm getting ready to do this interview, blah blah blah. And everybody is just sitting here in shock about the fact that, oh my gosh, somebody really did that to this child. So when you keep saying that people, everybody, you said everybody, and you said people are creating this narrative in this story, I don't see it. And
Okay.
so I want you to explain to me what you feel like people are thinking, and making sure that it's not just you feeling like you just feel like that's what people are saying, or is it what people are actually telling you?
I don't know. Maybe once you go back and kind of watch the interview and then see, like, maybe your comments or your remarks, maybe you would kind of understand, you know, why I feel, or maybe why I responded the way that I respond. Maybe that would kind of help out a little bit
Oh,
after we end the interview. It's nothing that I'm making up in my head or anything like that, Green.
Okay. And again, I don't feel like you're making it. I don't feel like you're making it up in your head. I just wanted to. When you say everybody, I just want to know
Mm.
who are the people that you feel like. I don't know,
It's not
but
certain people. It's just like I stated, I just was kind of responding back to you. But we just have this thing where we say like everybody or it's not everybody or like a bunch of people coming and telling me. It's just kind of a southern thing where we say, oh, everybody, and it's not really everybody. I was kind of responding to you when you had stated something about, you know, that people don't adopt in a selfish act, and I'm quite sure you guys didn't adopt in a selfish act. And then you go on to state, like people should tell their children the truth. And so that's the thing that I keep saying is like we were going to tell him. It was never a secret that we weren't going to tell him. I mean, everybody in the city knew he was adopted.
okay. And I want you to go back and want you to look at the video again because
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that I did not say people should tell their children the truth at a specific age. Like I said, I am speaking from a provider's standpoint of
Mm-hmm.
people that I've seen and my family members and what they took from it and why when they would have wanted to know or blah 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
However,
I
at the same time, you also said, and you made it very clear, and it makes a whole lot of sense, I hope, to everybody, that all children mature at different ages. And so you decide when it's a good idea for you to talk to your children. I also said that some people do it from the very beginning. You know, people have open adoptions where they have both parents come, all four parents are just involved. And that was just me explaining that there are several different ways that it's done.
Mm-hmm.
So I just don't want to leave here. And I don't know, I just take it, I don't, as far as the community is concerned, I do see a community of people who are standing for you or by you and your son. And I don't want them to feel any type of way when you say that everybody. So even if you feel like it's me personally, don't blame them. Like don't blame everybody in the community for what you feel like I feel. All right.
All right, Queen.
All right. Thank you again for coming on here and being so open and transparent about the situation that you and your family are dealing with. I hope that you and your family will continue to advocate for other children and in the community. And I hope that the community will stand behind you. I know that it's going to take some work, it's going to take some time to continue to educate everybody so that these children, who are my primary concern, do not have to suffer in any type of manner such as this. And know that these children are attached to a family, and when your children hurt, like you said, we hurt, and you mess with anything else, but don't play with my children.
Yes.
Say that as a mom. So I'm gonna go ahead and say a word of prayer and let you get on, and hopefully get to feeling better soon.
Thank you so much.
Are welcome. Father God, in the name of Jesus, God, we come to you right now as humbly as we know how. God, we're just asking right now for you to heal the pain that Malachi and his parents and his family are feeling regarding this situation right now. God, we know you to be a healer of all things, and some of those things are mental, some of those things are emotional. And we know you can bring them through it. God, I ask that the community as a whole would heal and that we would stand together so that we can live healthfully, and happily and peacefully. And we know it can happen, and we're thanking and we're praising you for it. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Amen.
All right. Well, you feel better, okay?
Okay, and you have a great evening, Queen.
You too. Thank you. I love y'all. God bless y'all, and good night.